Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days. For today's second video, day 10 will take us to the 9th of February. And we'll be able to extend up beyond that. It says GFS and ECM ensembles because they run around a couple of weeks. And we'll have a look at the Cfs V2 for not only the next 4 weeks, but also the next 6 months at the end of the video. We'll quickly rattle through the next 6 months worth of 700 millibar high anomalies from Cfs V2, which will get us into the summer. So it's been a long time since we've looked at any long range, but I thought we would have a quick look at CFS long range at the end of the video. So that's coming up later on. I shall get on with the video for you in a moment. Just say at first, video was our 6 a.m. upload. Got another storm coming, Storm Corrie. Strange name for a storm, isn't it? But if you'd like to know what's happening in Storm Corrie, then check out the 6 a.m. upload. I thought Corrie was like Coronation Street. I don't know, very strange name for a storm. And Mrs. P likes Coronation Street, and that leads me very nicely on to the next thing I'm going to say is say thank you so much, everybody, for all of the lovely messages that you've been sending in for Mrs. P on YouTube and elsewhere. So thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you. I will make she's still in the hospital, but I will make sure when she gets home that she has a look at your messages, and I shall pass them all on to her. I know she'll be very, very touched by all of the lovely, lovely support that you have that you've given, and all of the incredibly kind messages that you've been sending in. So she's still in the hospital. She's getting better though. So she's been up and about today, I think. So it'll be a few more days yet before she gets back to GavsWeatherVids town. She has been very, very poorly, but she will be getting back here hopefully in the next few days. So when she does, as I say, I will make sure that she's aware of all of your lovely, lovely messages. Thank you so much, everybody. You're all incredibly kind all of the time. It's unbelievable. I'm so proud of the community that we've built up through GavsWeatherVids. We're a very, very special community, I think, and I'm so proud. So thank you so much to all of you for all of the support all of the time. Right, okay, so that's the announcements done. Let's start with the video then. We're going to start off in the stratosphere. As I said yesterday, we will have a quick look at the stratosphere today. So this is how temperatures are currently looking at 10 HPA over the North Pole, set against the long-term 30-year average from the JMA. So the current position is that we're colder than average with the stratospheric temperature. We're somewhere around minus 65 there. We did pop it up a little bit to average a few days ago, actually. We went to average a few days ago, but it's dropped again. Generally, we have had a cold stratospheric temperature, going on since the beginning of the winter, really, or certainly into December. Anyway, so from around here is when we dropped. Back in the autumn, it was relatively warm with the stratospheric temperature, interestingly. But we remain cold on average at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole. This is a warming time of year now. We should be starting to lift the temperature up till it reaches its peak sometime in the summer. Of course, that's climatology. So the temperature will always peak in the summer. But we're looking to get a southern stratospheric warming. We haven't had one so far this winter. Just had a cold stratospheric temperature. We get a southern stratospheric warming. We will lift that black line up, something like that, in a very in a few days. They look very, very dramatic when they occur. There is certainly has been a stratospheric warming, or a sudden stratospheric warming, or any sort of warming of stratosphere really over the this winter so far. So we just wait to see if we go a little bit low down to 30 HPA. That's how we're looking. Look how cold we are still at 30 HPA. This is closer to the troposphere, but we are well below average now. We should be around here, like January to February. We should be like minus 68, minus 67, something like that. We're actually under minus 80 at the moment, as we have been throughout most of the winter so far. So like early December, we was a little bit above, it was around average, slightly above average towards the beginning of December. But generally, since then, we've had a really, really cold stratospheric temperature at 30 HPA. And of course, that's associated with strengthening of the polar vortex. So we have had a strong polar vortex through this winter. It hasn't been a polar vortex of doom, because there's been a little bit of a disconnect between the stratosphere and the troposphere. So although we've had a very strong polar vortex actually in the stratosphere, in the troposphere it has been all that strong. Although it's been strong enough to stop any sort of northern blocking getting going, except that attempt around Christmas that did come off for a few days and plunged Northern Europe into a really cold spell around and just after Christmas. But we, of course, just missed out on that. And then since then, we haven't had a sniff of any northern blocking at all. So let's see what the GFS is forecasting in terms of stratospheric temperatures over the next couple of weeks. So, of course, we've got these blue colours. These are the cold temperatures in the stratosphere over the North Pole. As we've already established, I've got cold temperatures there over the North Pole and the Arctic too. As we run through over the next few days, we keep those blue colours anchored in over the North Pole. They wax and wane a little bit, but overall, you know, no sign of any particular warming. You know, there is a minor warming that's occurring there over Siberia around the 6th, 7th of February, but that, you know, comes to naught, really. And as we go on into the extended range as well, with the latest GFS around again, no sign of any particular warming of the stratosphere of note. Maybe by a very early, just the middle of February, we're seeing signs that the cold temperatures, those blue colours, the polar vortex essentially at its roots, is getting a little bit stretched, perhaps. But even up to then, there's no sign of any particularly notable southern stratospheric warming. So it looks like this could well be a winter that doesn't have any particular warming of the stratosphere. Some winters don't, you know, some winters don't have any warming of the stratosphere. It's increasingly looking like this would be one of those. And we're you know, wasn't expecting that we get a southern stratospheric warming due to the easterly QBO phase and other factors. But this has been one of those winters where if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. You know, for anyone who wants cold weather, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Of course, they've got blizzards and whatnot on the East Coast. So despite everything looking very, very favourable, you know, early on in the season, and when we did the winter updates, things looked really good, you know, from a QBO perspective, a PDO perspective. The Atlantic didn't look bad. La Nina looked relatively encouraging. It was eastern based, not overly strong in the central part of the actual Pacific Ocean. We had quite a big hurricane season. You know, all the factors look pretty good, but despite that, we are still in this sort of pattern where the cold is across northern and eastern America. And as I say, the Pacific didn't look like it would support that kind of pattern, really, did it, with those cold average seas-over temperatures in the northeastern Pacific. But despite that, the pattern is still there. It's been a pattern that we've seen on most winters, since 2013-14. That's when the flip happened. That's when the change happened. We are still in that broad overall type setup, I think, where we're plunging the cold and the jet stream northwest to southeast across America. And I actually highlighted, you know, how that's happening. So you know, this is like West Coast America here, this is East Coast America here. So we're still plunging in that trough through here, and that takes all of the cold and snow and the blizzards down the eastern side of America. And then, of course, we run the jet stream in across the Atlantic. We do, with this, also sometimes, not always, but very often in these more modern winters, we do get cold air plunging down the eastern side of Europe as well, and particularly affecting like the eastern part of the Med and the Middle East. So I've been talking about snow in Athens and Istanbul, and I saw in the comments today that snow has fallen in high ground of Jerusalem in Israel. So yeah, it's that kind of pattern again, and it's been ongoing, this, really, most winters, with one or two. Last winter was slightly different, and of course the beach in the East winter was a little bit different too, but generally this has been a very, very consistent pattern since 2013-14, and of course the implications of this are whether I'm off on a tangent, I'm so sorry everybody, I'm completely off on a tangent, I will get on with your video in a moment, but the implications, of course, are, you know, where do we go from here with the winter updates if we have everything looking great for a cold winter, but we still cannot get out of that pattern that we set up in 2013-14. Fundamentally, I'm talking about in terms of obviously what's going on in the UK. It's actually a very different type winter to 2013-14 because that was very wet spring winter. We haven't had much rain at all this winter. So for you know. That aside, though, but overall northern hemispheric pattern still seems to be very much aligned to to what you had in 2013-14. And it's been an ongoing scenario since then. And the question is, where do we go from here with the winter updates and whatnot? Because if everything looks like it's stacked up for a cold winter, but it still does not occur, then that means, you know, we either still carry on forecasting a cold winter, but we have to caveat it greatly that, you know, what's happened this winter shows that the drivers aren't working as we expect them to. Or we just, you know, have to say, irrespective of anything else that's going on, it's going to be mild. And, you know, forecast mild all of the time, every month, every season. Just say it's going to be warmer than average and disregard anything else that's going on. So it does pose a problem. And I know so many of you want the long-range updates and the winter updates to continue. But I'm struggling to see how we go on with this. You know, but I love doing winter updates as well. You know, if I can continue them, I will. But I don't want to, you know, be in a situation where I'm misleading people and saying that the data looks all stacked up for cold winter, but it's just, you know, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't come off in the end. So we'll see what's going to happen. I'll keep everybody informed. But I hope you can see the situation that I'm in with this, because this winter is a real wake-up call, I think. It's a big wake-up call. Right, I'm so sorry, Brian. Off on a tangent. Let's crack on then. So, going on to the CT, central temperature is currently standing at 5.1, which is 1.3 degrees above average. That is provisional to the 29th of January. It's going to hover around there. There'll be a downwards correction. I still think in the end will come in somewhere between 4.5 and 4.9, somewhere in that ballpark. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. So the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Birmingham. We're starting off close to average at the moment. We're going to go a little bit colder than average tomorrow, and then we're going to pick it back up again in a part of the week. Another little cold snap showing up there later on next week. And then after that, as we go into extended range, we've got another push up in the temperature there. So it looks very zonal, doesn't it? Warmer, colder sectors alternating with one another, and then we're just hovering close to the 30-year average. The thick green line, which is the GFS operational run, that does become a little bit of a cold. It's not a cold outright, there's other members with it, but becomes one of the coldest members through the middle part of February, and you'll get to see that in a moment. Precipitation-wise, not particularly unsettled, but it does look like there will be more precipitation around than we've had through January, which had been an exceptionally dry month, of course. So, yeah, you know, we've not got all that many precipitation spikes, but there are some that are there, particularly patched from around the 4th to the 7th or 8th of February, this period just here. But generally not overly unsettled with that. In terms of 2-meter temperatures, we look like this. So that's how they're looking. You know, starting off about average at the moment. Going to get quite mild around middle part of the week, and then another little drop in the temperature then. And then we're pretty close to long-term averages after that. There might be a slight cooling trend that's going on there into the middle part of February, but it's a really long way off. Sea level pressure looks like this, so keeping relatively high pressure, really. So not as high as it has been around 1,040 millibars over the past couple of weeks. We're going to be generally between around 1,020, 1,030 millibars. There's no sign of any particularly low pressure, let's put it that way. So for Birmingham, pressure remains relatively high, and as far as snow row is concerned, there are some snow spikes there around the 4th to the 5th of February, not much before it. There's a few afterwards, but again, nothing definitive showing up there. In terms of the ECM ensembles, which we can now show you at wetter, interestingly, the, again, red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Birmingham, and again, we're starting off above average. Right now, we're going to go a little bit colder than average over the next few days, and above average again, then a little cold snap coming up around the 4th of February. Then after that, relatively mild by the look of it, as we go through the second week of February. There are some precipitation spikes showing up as well, if you have a look at 2-meter temperatures for Birmingham, see how they're looking. So, again, pretty mild at the moment, going a little bit cooler over the next few days, mild around the middle of the week, and then colder into the weekend, and then after that, relatively mild as we go through the second week of February. Right, temperature anomalies from the 30th of January to 7th of February are milder than average. Precipitation anomalies from the 30th of January to 7th of February are colder than average. Again, you can see the cold air is down there in that southeastern part of Europe from the southern Balkans, you know, down to Greece, into Turkey. That's where winter continues, and also across some parts of Norway and central northern parts of Sweden. Have a look at the temperature anomaly for the States. This is how it looks: widespread cold across most parts of America. How different in America compared to the UK. And again, as I said it, you know, this has been ongoing. This kind of has been ongoing since 2013-14. Well, what will it take to break us out of this? Or will we ever break out of it? Is this the new normal? You know, but it'll be very cold in America, and it'll be always mild across Western Europe. Is that what we're facing now? It's interesting though, isn't it? Because the cold is still there. Look how widespread the cold is across America, right away from the west coast. There are some exceptions just there for example, but generally widespread cold from the west coast right the way over to the east coast. So the cold is still there. If we get the position of the high pressure and the low pressure in the right position, we will unleash the cold, you know, but we cannot get that setup to do it across Western Europe in particular. Eastern Europe doesn't seem to be a problem really, but it's Western Europe that just cannot get that setup in place. Latest wind flow map from earthandoldskool.net looks like this. So Storm Corrie showing up quite nicely just here. That's going to bring a real battering to the northern half of the country later on today. Right, let's go through some chart data then. So this is how the UK Met is looking for midnight on Wednesday. So we're bringing in a mild westerly wind. Then low pressure then starts pushing in from the Atlantic by the time we get through to Thursday into generally wet and windy weather with low pressure domination by Friday. That's a little cold snap at the end of the week. That low pressure transferring into the North Sea and pulling winds into the north, becoming colder as we go into the weekend. But it is only very, very brief cold snap, and then winds will back round into the west, and we will begin to go a little bit milder again by midnight on Sunday. Icon looks like that. So again, bringing in a relatively mild westerly wind through the middle part of the week, end of the week, a little bit of a cold snap, but not as much as UK Met shows actually. So not as much of a cold snap Friday to Saturday, keeping wind generally in from the west with Icon. So even that little cold snap, you know, Friday to Saturday is not guaranteed. Icon is not interested in it whatsoever. And we just keep the wind in from off the Atlantic right way up to this time next week, albeit it is a little bit colder through the northern half of the country. GFS midnight run again brings in those mild westerly winds through the middle part of the week, then wet and windy, and going a little bit colder as well. But again, not much of a cold snap, really, not as much as the UK Met is showing at the end of the week. The wind stays fundamentally and primarily from a westerly direction. And that carries on up to day 10. After day 10, the midnight GFS run does have a bit of a change. Pulls the high pressure out to the west and pulls down a cold northerly, and then sets high pressure up over the country. And eventually starts pushing up Scandinavia and brings in east winds. But as we saw in the ensemble, you know, it doesn't go off on a tangent. I wouldn't necessarily say that. It's not an outlier, but it is certainly one of the coldest of the members, you know, in extended range. However, it's a possibility, it's an option, but we might get things colder through the second week and into the middle of February. That's how the upper air temperatures look. They have turned a lot colder by that point. I don't think it's going to come off, but, you know, it's what the GFS shows today. GFS 6Z, very latest again, looks like that, mild around the middle part of the week, very mild, potentially a bit of a taste of spring in the air, and staying generally westerly, flat, you know, and zonal right way up to day 10 as well. Not as unsettled, by the way, with a 6Z GFS compared to the midnight GFS, so the dry spell continues as well with the 6Z, and that's how we look as we get to the end. Actually, not going to be able to get to the end of GFS 6Z, that's yesterday's chart, so that's as far as we can get to Sunday the 13th of February. And then we've got high pressure into our east. We're bringing up like a very mild spring-like sort of southerly, southeasterly type wind. GM, again, looking pretty mild through the middle part of the week, a little bit more unsettled and cooler later on in the week. And then we go well, we stay just generally westerly and pretty mild all the way up to day 10. And then also we've got the ECM, which once more shows fundamentally Atlantic-driven sort of pattern with high pressure to our south. Low pressure deepens in the Atlantic and starts pushing from the west. So, again, you know, if anybody wants cold weather, there's not much side of it other than the UK Met, I suppose, which does have that little cold snap around the 4th to 5th February. But even that, I think, you know, probably won't verify in the end. This is a precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from tometeo.com. We look like this. So, I mean, you know, there will be rain coming and going, but not a lot. Generally, high pressure is still ruling the roost, really, especially for more southern areas, and particularly so later on. What rain there is particularly for more northern and western regions. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for daytime. It gets to 9th of February. 18 members of the ECM ensembles have high pressure right over top of the country. Going to be mainly dry with that. 8 have high pressure just to our east. Again, mainly dry. That's milder though. It does bring up wind from the south. This option could deliver some frost and fog. Another 8 with high pressure just over the side to the south of the country. Bring up winds like a southwesterly direction with that. So again, mainly dry and pretty mild. Another 8 just here has high pressure again over the country. 7 with high pressure again over the country. And 7 with high pressure over and slight to west. So all the options are involving high pressure. It's just the exact placement of the ridge. That's critical. So that's the reason it stays pretty dry all the way up to day 10. In 2 weeks' time, this is the option that we've got. Look away now if you want cold weather. This is the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, and all members, 51 out of 51 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, winds in from the west, and it remains very mild, particularly so more southern areas. Cfs V2 looks like this. These are 500 millibar height on its breakdown to week periods. The first week period will take us from the 30th of January to 5th of February. Coming week with low pressure way to the northeast, high pressure pulled out to the Atlantic, and winds coming in from a northwesterly direction, mainly dry. With that, we go through the week 2, which is the 6th to the 12th of February. Again, low pressure to the north, high pressure to the west-southwest, winds in west. Could be a little bit more unsettled, more northern areas, but everything's still driving in from off the Atlantic. Week 3 is the 13th to the 19th of February. Again, high pressure is to the south, low pressure is to the north. Winds remain flat and westerly at that point. And then week 4 is going to be the 20th to 26th of February, with again high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north. Winds remain in from that westerly direction. Very mild February on the way to culminate what, of course, is a snowless winter. Right, the last thing we'll look at will be the Cfs V2 for the next 6 months. So I'll just quickly go through them, and then we're done. If you've enjoyed this video, then please can you smash the like button, make sure you sub to the channel. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Right, so this is how February continues to look, with CFS, low pressure away to the north, high pressure to the west-southwest, winds continuing to come in from off the Atlantic Ocean. There's that ridge in the northern Pacific that sends a jet stream on a northwest-southeast alignment through the states, brings winter to them. And then, of course, we remain with those westerly winds. Month number 2 will be March. That's how it looks. High pressure and cyclonic March. Very spring-like March if that comes off. Low pressure away to the northwest. High pressure is dominating across the western Europe. It's a very, very spring-like March indeed. Again, mainly dry though. Look at this. April, again with high pressure above average height, centered right over top of the country, so that again is another very dry month. We could be thinking about drought by this point, I would have thought. So April again looking really dry, pretty mild too. May takes a high pressure just a little bit further southwards and perhaps starts to introduce slightly more of a westerly type flow. So May could be a bit more unsettled, especially so for more northern areas. Of course, by May, westerlies aren't all that warm either. So that could be a slightly cooler, slightly more unsettled month. But then we go back to high pressure again in June. We're month number 5 now, so you know it's all just for fun really. But high pressure goes back comes back in June, more centred over Scandinavia, brings the wind in from the east. That could be a very warm or hot month in June. And then finally, July looks like that. And this perhaps hints at a bit of a change, but it's 6 months away. But eventually the high pressure then goes quite a bit further northwards, and this white area in summer will probably fill up with a trough. So that could turn more unsettled, maybe thundery, but probably more unsettled and probably a little bit cooler as well. But that's 6 months away. So, I mean, it's very unlikely that July will actually turn out like that. But certainly, like February, March, April, those next 3 months look really anticyclonic. And yeah, so the dry, warm spell, well, mild spell at the moment, but will become a warm spell by April. The dry, mild / warm spell goes on right the way into the spring. So if you want a nice spring, CFS is looking good for what it's worth. Right, if you enjoyed the video, then please can you smash the like button, make sure you sub to the channel. Thank you so much for doing that, and don't forget to tell your friends and family about GavsWeatherVids. Thank you so much, and drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. It's amazing, it's incredible. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. And yeah, I'll let everybody know, you know, I was off on a tangent at the start of the video, but let me know in the comments what you think about what I had to say there. And I'll let everybody know, you know, what's going to happen with the long range and the winter updates and whatnot in a few weeks, definitely. Right, okay, so that's it for today's video. As I say, no live stream tonight. Tomorrow, 6 PM upload and a 10 to 14 dayer as well, hopefully. But for today's videos, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.